Yeah, thank you everyone for attending the session. Actually, it's a very good crowd, and it's also an honor to attend this WordCamp. This is actually my very first one. I have been trying, to be honest, in the past a few, but it's not so easy as it looks. There is a very tough criteria for the submissions, which is good. We need quality. So let's start with this session, which is about the complete observability stack for your WordPress site. A little about me. My name is Usman Ahmad. I work for Grafana Labs as a staff developer advocate. Basically, it means that I work with the open source community on GitHub, Slack, or community forums. And I do not do any sales or enterprise. I just focus on the open source parts of the Grafana. And yeah, and try to create video tutorials, demos, blog posts, and also work a lot on the documentation. And when I have some time, also do speaking events, speak in front of community like you who are passionate about learning new tools and especially the open source ones. And in my previous role, I have been in the tech industry for more than 15 years. I have used Linux back when, I don't know, does anyone know like Fedora Linux operating system? Oh, nice. Yeah, so I started working or using Fedora 6, the very first UI, which was very minimal. So that's sparked my interest, and I left Windows forever then. And beside work, I have a small family, so mostly my time goes to my daughter, but whenever I have time, I also have a small YouTube channel where I create like fun videos, basically focusing on the open source tools and mostly on Linux. So how you can use Linux operating system, learn commands, but also use tools in production. And also I like writing because writing helps me to understand more, and I will yeah, say like it also improve my writing or abilities to understand the tools as well. So yeah, let's get started. So today, let's take a look at the history of web applications. So let's think like this is like a WordPress thing, and back in the days you have like a one WordPress running on your local machine and users are using, and you know what's going on. If there is a problem, you can identify, the service is down or the memory is very low, you can increase it, buy new CPUs or whatever. You don't have any issues there because you have the complete observability or monitoring in front of you, right? And you say like, hey, that's fine, like everyone is happy, and everyone looks at my website, it's either my portfolio or my project, things are looking good. Then we come to the part of evolution. So things change, technology goes fast, and we got introduced to Docker. Now Docker is really powerful tool, and as a matter of fact, my whole demo today is also on Docker because Docker solves a lot of problem, like you don't need to run so many virtual machines, and it's so easy now because you can define like a compose file where you can define the whole stack of the services, and things runs perfectly, right? Again, this is an example. It doesn't need to be Redis. Then we go further. Things got more interesting, and we talk about the daemon itself, the Kubernetes. And again, this is an example. You don't need to like absorb it, but yeah, it solved the problem. What Docker could not do is the container orchestration. So you have like a complete deployment. You can add or remove services, deploy as many pods as you like. You have a namespace, so you can get the isolation and so on. This is all cool, but it is also very complicated if you want to run this. You need learning. You need to go through a learning curve, right? So this is now where things get interesting. If you are running WordPress maybe on Docker or even using something complex as Kubernetes, how do you find about the problems? Because now it's not just like a single node, it's multi-node, right? And you need to have eyes everywhere, and you have only two eyes, right? You can't have seen everything. So you may say, hey, like this server crash or that one is fire, but you know what? I send all my users to that one which are looking green. That's your thinking, but in reality, uh, there are still users who are screaming for help, and there are users who are mad at you because they simply cannot do anything, And then you realize, uh-oh, there is a problem, and how do you fix it, right? How we can do solve our users' problems, frustration, issues, and make them happy. And this is where we come to the point, like, what is the solution? What you can bring in your technology stack which can provide all these to you. So let's talk about the foundations of observability. So does anyone have heard before this word observability? It's a very complicated word. We call it also OLI, yeah? So there are some hands. So consider this as like a journey. When you, for example, as a WordPress user, developers, or any software developers, you create a code, you deploy it, the user found out a problem, you try to fix it, diagnose it, find the root cause, and then fix it. But this pattern will happen again because that's how all the software workflows look like. There will always be a troubleshooting, then a root cause analysis, then you may take your team in a call and say like, hey, we should not do this, we should use different approach. So that's like a complete journey, and it's not a destination because it will happen again and again at some point. It's not like loop that it will always appear every 1 month or so, but yeah. And there are three main pillars for observability. So first start with metrics. Metrics means like how much usage of your resources are. Like if you have a WordPress on a Docker, how many CPU cycles it might be using, memory, and so on. Then we come to the logs. I think everyone in this room probably know like log files. You check the log files to understand the problem, the error message, warnings, etc. They're very useful. And then we have something called traces or tracing. So basically, tracing is an advanced version of logs. So imagine like if the user click this button which says like, hey, go to my website and buy this. It may be a get or a post request, but the user get an error. And you do not know like, hey, why this error was coming. So tracing will give you a complete cycle how the error looked like, where it was initiated. And you can also see that log line in more detail because log line will give you like there is an error. Error where, how, which service, which part of the line was or the code was giving this. So these are the three pillars. And now we come at another question like, hey, so okay, that's all good, but finding a complete observability stack, is there one exist? So there is one which is totally free and open source, which is called Grafana. How many of you have used Grafana? Very nice. How many are using like Grafana 10, version 10 or higher? Okay, yeah, I always get that. It's so normal now. Yeah. So okay, yeah, we have now Grafana 12, but yeah, I know it's a tool which have been for decades actually. So Grafana is totally open source tool. It is available on platforms like Linux, Windows, Mac. Even you can run on Raspberry Pi. And it supports various visualization formats like time series, bar chart, pie charts, and so on. The cool thing is that it needs a source of data. What does it mean? If you have like a database somewhere running, you say to Grafana like, hey, this is the endpoint, this is the IP address, I give you the credentials and get me all the data from there. You don't need to like inside Grafana, go configure the database and so on. You don't need to do it. Grafana will say just tell me the source and I will do the job for you. And why Grafana? Yeah, that's a good question. Because there are many tools which you may are using or heard of. So let's see. So this is normally, you see, if you are a user of Grafana, you see these dashboards, cool graphs and visualizations. And this is our big 10 data sources. Basically, most of them are open source. I will say there are few which are enterprise, but many of them here at least are open source as well. And, oops, wrong button. And this is your environment. So your environment may be running some sort of applications. And this is our complete observability stack. So Loki is for logs, Grafana is for visualization, Tempo is for tracing, Mimir is for metrics, or we will learn also one tool is called Prometheus, which is actually labeled here. And then we have something called Pyroscope. Pyroscope is a new addition. what it means, Pyroscope. So if you are doing custom development for your WordPress client or for your own code, you have a you write like 10 lines of code. Somehow it works, but the performance is slow, and maybe you don't get this data in the logs or in the traces. If you enable profiling, you will see like, okay, this code is like breakdown into this library, so this function of yours is calling this library, then that library is calling that library, and that is why it is taking so much time. So this is where Pyroscope or profiling can help you. Then I will just move forward because there's so many, but this is also all available open source. We have performance testing, which is like K6, a load testing tool. We have application observability, um, infrastructure, and alerting as well. So there is this whole stack which is totally open source, and you can use it. So what's new? We have now introduced some features which are now available in the free version of Grafana, which is called drill down metrics and drill down logs. We will take a demo of it. And don't get complicated with this picture. This is the only picture I use with AI because I was very lazy. So I did not create it. But let me explain you. So this is your WordPress application running on Docker. And for WordPress, you need MySQL or some other data source, right? And this is what I am trying to get all this data. I'm running some services like CAdvisor to get the Docker container metrics, Node exporter for the system metrics, MySQL exporter is for the MySQL metrics. And there's also WP exporter, which is only for the WordPress exporter to get the WordPress metrics. And then for the logs, I'm using Alloy. And then for sending all these data to Prometheus, which is to collect metrics, Loki is for logs, and then finally visualizing in Grafana. Now this picture looks very complicated, but I will show you a demo which will make easier. And before we jump to the demo, this is very important because this is a big confusion in many cases why I am using CAdvisor. Because if I don't use CAdvisor, I may get the Docker engine metrics, but I will not get the container metrics, like how much the container itself utilizing the resources, what's going on in that, and so on. So that is the reason you need to use CAdvisor if you're running on Docker. You may not use it, but then you may also lose some visibility. So let's go for the demo. So just to show you how my Docker Compose file looks like, it's very simple. It's nothing fancy. So this is my WordPress, right? And I'm using like MariaDB or MySQL, it's your choice. And then I'm using Prometheus to collect the metrics. And most of this configuration, like they are pre-configured. Like if you go to the Docker Hub, they will send you all this configuration. You don't need to like memorize it, learn it, no. And yeah, and then this is my CAdvisor configuration. Again, this is all available on their documentation, so you don't need to like again like write it by hand. This is my WordPress very fancy website, which is not so fancy actually. It's a demo, okay, and you can see like, hey, there are some posts. I have created some tests in the past, put some images, and so on. And now if I go here, I have these WordPress metrics coming. And let me try to refresh. Yeah. So again, it's not so active, but there is some data coming. I can see like, oh, their total number of comments are 10. There are 4 media files. Currently, I'm the only user who is logged in. And we have also collection for tags and so on. So this is again very basic because right now I don't have so much usage of this except for the demo. Let me see. Yeah, so the demo part is also for the metrics. Now in Grafana, so I try to make this bigger for you. So if you are a user who knows Grafana, you probably understand this home page at least. Okay, there are some news and so on. And here, this is the new drill down, which is available in the open source version as well. Now, normally what happens is that if you are a Grafana user, you also like, oh my God, I have to learn Grafana. how to write PromQL and so on. And it takes time. As a developer, your main job is to focus on the development, not on the learning Grafana and knowing Grafana and teaching Grafana to others. So if you click on this drill down, you see 4 options: metrics, log, traces, profile. So let's click on metrics. Now what it will do is that you get all these metrics automatically. You don't need to memorize any queries, any data, and so on. And you can filter them if you like. For example, hey, I am very much interested to see um, um, data for my C advisor or something, or I can use here as well. So I'm like for interested in anything which is related to CPU, maybe 0. Okay, yeah, there are a few which are right now 0 there because there's not so much activity. So you can filter all this here, or you can simply use this dashboard. So if you say like, hey, this one is pretty cool, let's take a nice one. So like file system limits of bytes. So I'm like, hey, I need this one because I need to show it to my team. You select it, and then you can probably, I always lost this button because it's, there is a way to actually add it. Give me a moment. Okay, I cannot find that small button in the UI right now, but there is a very easy way. Basically, if you want to use this dashboard, you can do at least go to explore. Oh yeah, you go to explore and say like, hey, I need this, right? So you click here, add, and add to dashboard, and you can either create a new dashboard or insert into an existing one. It's your choice, so you can put it in any of the dashboard you like. So this is how you can get all the metrics as well. And I have like a C advisor dashboard here created, and this is the container advisor, and you can see like it is getting all the data for the containers only. So how much CPU cycles they are using, the memory, and so on. Now we go slowly. Um, okay, yeah. So now we go to the logs. So log files are very interesting because as a Linux user, I have worked in the past where I have to view like big log files, and there's only this terminal, and you do grep and so imagine if you have to view like a 1 GB or log file and find the error. It's so painful. That's the nicest word I can use right now. Yeah, and logs are very important because your customer may say, hey, I didn't do anything, it's your fault. But when you look at the log file, you say like, there is something fishy going on. You did click something. That's how we know. So logs are very important. And the Grafana Loki, the tool itself, it's target for everyone, rather than regardless if you are a DevOps engineer, a software SRE, or maybe just doing something for the operations. You need logs, and you can use Grafana Loki. Now, the cool thing about Grafana Loki is that, like any other softwares where you have to define like, hey, this is my Apache log file, this is my Windows Server log file. Again, you just tell the Loki, this is where all my log files are, and give me a way to visualize it. And it will collect all the log files of your choice, right? And you can even tell via API as well. That's something not so much commonly people know, but you can use via API as well. And you can use all these agents. These are basically agents. Agent means like their only responsibility is to collect the log files and send it to the Loki server. And Grafana has two, Promptail and Grafana Alloy. And why Loki is so powerful? So we talk about like, imagine you have a 10 TB log file, which is for the customer, and you have a lot of data. But how Grafana Loki does the indexing, basically help you to search the data and reduce the effort. So you have this 10 TB, it will provide 50 MB of indexing. What will it index? The timestamp, the labels, the labels. So it will be like a key value pair, like your app is Nginx, environment is dev or prod, and then the content log line. this will be unindexed. It will not index the log line problems error. It will do this. And what will happen is that this 10 TB of locked data will be become 3 TB. This is a big reduce in the size, because having a lot of log files is also not nice. You may have some data retention policy in your environment, but you don't want to keep it like 20 GB or 20 TB of log files. You don't need it. So reducing size is really helps to like save a lot of money actually. And now let's take a look about the drill down. So we have yeah. So again we go in drill down, and again we are not writing any queries for the log part. We didn't write anything for the metrics. We just use the Grafana Docker compose. That's all for WordPress. And I now click logs, and now I can see all the logs in a very nice way. I can even see some info. There are some errors. There are some log files which may need some attention. But you can see now, okay, this helps. This tell me like where are the issues, especially this one, because there are some errors. This is good. For example, you say like, hey, I want to see the logs, and you can see the patterns. If you want to just filter the errors, you click here, and you say like, hey, these are the error happen during these timestamps. So you can do that too. And you have also some navigation options here where you can expand and see the details like, hey, what is exactly happening. You can expand it. You can also see the labels itself as well, like, hey, from where it is coming, what is the platform, what is the service, and so on. So this way you reduce your effort. You don't need to learn like shell command, which you can use in basic, but in 10 TB or 20 TB of log files, you don't want to run shell commands to, yeah, it's horrible. Okay. Um, and this is just for information. We have moved, Grafana has a new tool, it's called Grafana Alloy. Uh, does anyone know about open telemetry or has heard the word open telemetry? Nice. So open telemetry it's a protocol, it's a standard, which is basically to collect all the telemetry data and send it to your favorite tool. It's an open source platform or protocol, and we use Grafana Alloy so that it is compatible to both open telemetry and also can be used with other tools as well. So this is your infrastructure of application. You may be running WordPress with some other uh, applications, and you can use Grafana Alloy, which will basically means you can get all this data and set it to for the observability. Now the last part is alerting. Now you learn about logs, metrics, you also have some knowledge about tracing, profiling, but you are not always sitting on your machine and looking at the graphs and like, no, there is an error. No, you don't want to do that. You want to get some alerting, and Grafana has this alerting tool or alerting module which you can use. So yeah, because if you don't get alert, you will be in a lot of problem, and nobody likes that. And your team needs to get alerting. And this is, I put this on purpose, like alerts which are bad, which are also good, or which are unknown. You need all kind of alerts if you have a critical system. And yeah, it makes it easy for us to detect response and learn also from the incident so that we don't do the mistakes again and again. And Grafana alerting, we will have a demo. So it supports, it's pretty easy now. It was back in the day, it was very not so easy. It supports various contact points. Contact points means like if you want to get alert on your WhatsApp, on your Telegram, or even email, or MS Teams, you name it. We have integrations for all these like third-party tools or applications. And you can create custom rules, templates, or policies. Here is an example how the policies work. So this is the root, right? And you have different teams in your organization. One is like security team, one is admin team, and there is backend team. Now, the security team is only interested if there is a security incident. They are not interested if there is a back-end error about out of memory or code problems, whatever. So these are basically, you can say, like tags or key value pairs. And this is with same concept. This is how alerting works. So if there is a tag which says like team is equals to security, that alert which should only go and will go to the security team. And if you have a team for backend, so they will get the error which are related to backend. You can also further divide if you say like, hey, now I have an admin team, but I have two admin teams. One is for the database, one is for the infrastructure. So you can divide that as well. Okay. So yeah, final takeaways. So Grafana, if you're using WordPress or even other application, you should try at least to use Grafana. It is available in many flavors. Um, it has a lot of rich features, and a lot of community users are using it, and they are also providing a lot of new features or plugins as well, or dashboards as well. And again, it's a complete stack for everything. It's not just for like, hey, this is just for logs or metrics. It is for everything. So give it a try. And we have some channels where you can also get help. So this is Grafana repo if you want to post problems, issues, some links to the Grafana Slack channel, and also I will always favor the community forum because it's like a big knowledge database where you can learn a lot. And you can scan this QR code because I put all the instructions or the details like how you can get started with Grafana. They're also linked to tutorials that can help. And I'm always happy if you need to reach out to me either on LinkedIn or email. Yeah, I am happy to collab or try to help you. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you.